It's really cool to see Where Winds Meet doing really well. I played it when it first came out, about 60 hours, which is very long for me at this point in my life. It's amazing how much Where Winds Meet has grown since I've been playing. Now they've added a desert region, and in version 1.5, they are adding this area called Yangzhou, which is a brand new snow area. So the game continues to expand and continues to grow at a very healthy rate. So let's take a listen to some of the pieces that are coming in version 1.5. So this particular song actually is based off of real folk melodies that are played throughout different regions and ethnic groups across China. The intention of this is to evoke a sense of a hometown feeling, a sense of nostalgia for childhood and that feeling of living in a safe and peaceful place. I'm really curious to check this out. This is a piece that's actually played in-game, so it's a diegetic piece of music that we'll hear as we play. Wow. I love the percussion in that right away. I mean, let's take a listen. If we rewind. Right there. So the piece leans into its melody very, very, very prominently. The melody is the focal point of this. Now, it's also really cool because we have these terrific drums that are really marching us forward as well. But there's this cumulative sense of a united front, of a coming together, of an embracing of life's hardships and trials and tribulations. Da, 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 da. And then the beautiful counter melody with the flute instrument, I think maybe it's not the pipa, but there's a beautiful balance there. That's the nostalgia, body, 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 which is really nice because you have the strong melody, ba-da, ya-da, ya, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. So those two coalesce, which is really beautiful. And I think too, what's interesting is that and it's actually interesting because the strumming and the prolonged strum is actually a wonderful feeling as well of this like sustain into the ether, into the dream space. Like there's a real sound in that of like, I don't know, it's so interesting, right? Because why do we sustain something like that? Why do we prolong that for so long? Well, because it's emotional. Prolonging something gives us a sense of suspension. You know, we kind of feel like we're in the sauce, we're in the space, and that feels just really good, doesn't it? Because they could easily go ba da 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 da, but do you see how like da 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 actually feels like we're cutting off the like emotional impetus of the piece? It's interesting. And then there, the stringed instrument and the flute come together and they join and they kind of connect. And so we have this sense of separation. And then as we move into it, we have this sense of unity, which is effective at kind of gathering, coming together, right? Obviously. You know, this sound has really grown on me. It's pointed, it's in the nose, it's nasal. It's got this brightness that at first it could probably be off-putting, but the more you sort of like allow yourself to just sort of embrace it, when you look past our like traditional Western perspective on, sort of classical or, standard practice singing, what you end up getting is this really unique and I think culturally interesting sound that should be embraced and celebrated because it's really, really, really just interesting. And not everybody thinks this way, but from a musicological perspective, like it's just an interesting sound that exists. It's very, 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 very bright. I find it kind of comforting now after having listened to a bunch of, this style of singing. It's very like, let me tell you this beautiful story, right? And then obviously we have a lovely duet plus the string instrument and the flutes that are already playing. And then obviously the male choir there does a great job of just adding this like layering, beautiful layer of extra oomph to sort of resend the idea home, right? What's really lovely about this particular piece is that it isn't just about nostalgia for childhood, but it's also about cultural fusion and unity of people together. It's about blending cultures and using authentic folk melodies from various regions. That's how we tie together this multicultural united front. Not only that, but this particular piece and melody are all about that feeling of connection that we experience through the main story. It carries the emotions of those who have lost their homes to war, allowing them to find a shared sense of solace within the same song. What matters is not that you have a physical location as a home, but you are wherever your heart finds peace and stability. That is home. And that's ultimately what we're talking about music. We're talking about ideas. We're talking about the balance between emotion, feeling, thought, and also the technique that goes into producing these things. And it's beautiful when we have a synergy and we unify, which these things are kind of all moving in unison at this point, to help us tell a story, right? I also really like how there's a moment there right around where I stopped where we have the strings actually da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya, and then they come together and they meet us in the middle and they meet us in unison. And then this ending is really beautiful too because we sing together and then we have this beautiful shouted like it reminds me very much of like a choral moment in a movie or something where everyone's alive and the whole thing is just vibrating with life. It's really pretty. Really cool. Then I wanted to take a listen to the login screen because a login screen is really important. I really like the music of the login screen for version 1.0. So I'm curious how the music has changed, if at all. So the login screen hasn't changed, but what I think is really cool if you've never heard this login screen is that it basically sets us up for the action. We start off with this beautiful sense of like stillness. Bryam, bryam. It kind of extends us and makes us feel, it sort of like opens the curtain on the world. It's very like thum, right? But listen to how it picks up. Oh wait, no, it's different. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Yeah. Do you hear how like we start this whole thing off And we lead into this right? So like that's all action, that's all strength, that's like fortitude, that's like committing to a journey and really launching yourself into an adventure. And in this case, launching because, well, you know, Where Winds Meet is all about the wuxia experience and jumping through the air and slashing the sky with your sword into unveiling the celestial beyond and then flying through the air. It's definitely one of the things that I think Where Winds Meet does exceptionally well, is celebrating this beautiful vast landscapes, and the world really feels super lived in. The combat's really fun, the bosses are really awesome, and based on what I read, there's more bosses coming in, which is really cool. The combat actually is one of the best parts of Where Winds Meet, and the raids are really fun too. I spent a lot of time doing that in those 60 hours, but also just the world has just got a lot of stuff to see, and I don't know, it's really unique, and it's not something you see all the time, certainly not in our Western world, and it's fun to like have wuxia like represented like really accurately in a game. But I love how this starts. It heralds an adventure, but you know how you can do this in a couple different ways. Like you can have it be bright, you can have it be peppy, you can have it be cheerful. But this is really like action. There's a real momentum in this where we have to go and we have to launch ourselves towards it. Obviously it's all very sharp. Even though it's played by the Arhu, there is this sharpness in the rhythmic notation. Like all that you hear every individual note, and so even though we are bowing, because of the way the rhythm is, there's a really nice tension. That's the login screen. Even just those couple seconds there, really beautiful. This is the track that you hear in Kaifeng. Kaifeng is absolutely gorgeous. Kaifeng is one of the major regions featured in Where Winds Meet. It's kind of the main hub or city in Where Winds Meet for both cultural and political happenings. It's a really busy, very, very, very evolved city region that has tons of shops. It's a place of political headquarters, administrative places, academies, temples, and it's very, very dense with lots of people going about their day-to-day lives. This game is crazy. Like there's so many systems in play, and like you may like it, you may not, because there are a lot of systems, but personally, like it scratched an itch. I like how this music automatically invites us into a world that is busy. Like there's street vendors in the very beginning, you hear the shouting, it's loud, but then also there's this kind of this degree of suavite, this like yada 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 yada, and so there's this kind of like look over here, look over there, who's that inviting me into this, like, you know, this alley, what is happening over there, wait, what are they doing over there? There's this hustle and bustle, but there's also this that's soft at the same time. And again, I mean, I think the beauty of this to me is the total embrace of the cultural identity of the place and of the music, which is really, really nice. And see, in all the staccato and all the like sort of tight notes and the short, really accented notes, the staccati, they almost bring a smile to your face. They highlight the bustle, but they also highlight like how this world just like functions. It's like bright, it's sunny. There's an energy and a vibrance in it. There's a bubbling and effervescence, and that really comes through, especially with those staccatos. Staccati. And essentially what you're getting is counter melody and counter harmony. So like you're getting a counter melody with the upper flutes, and then you have the lower portion there kind of doing its own thing. And so there's like, you know, it's like the upper flutes are the kids running around and the animals scurrying about on the floor. And then everyone else is sort of like minding their own business, or like, you know, he's got the hay on his back walking towards the location to deposit it. There's an effervescence there that I think is really fun. And it's cool to hear it represented in the music, and also with the traditional instrumentation and with the sort of folk song elements that are true to life. The thing about Where Winds Meet is that it blends the music with the plot and gameplay to deliver a high quality piece of narrative content. The music is deeply entrenched in the process. There's also a desire to immerse us with the localization used with the music involved. Everything has a specific place and purpose. Each region, each map, has a tailor-made soundtrack designed to pull you in and immerse you within this world. It's not random. It's intentional. There's a cultural feeling of reality in this music which helps us immerse ourselves and bind ourselves to this world. The Liangzhou melody allows us to feel connected to individual characters, to allow us to feel like this plot is real, and makes us feel like we live and belong in this place. And that no matter where we may find ourselves on our journeys within Where Winds Meet, we will always have a home if we follow our heart. So, you know, Where Winds Meet, I think it's worth the time. Granted, this is a sponsored video, but I did play 60 hours that were not sponsored, and I had a very, very, very good time. So if you're into this open world historical time period thing, like I am, especially third person, which I very much am, this is like really, really unique and fun to explore. You have to be a little bit patient with the menus because the menus can be a little bit busy, but overall, like once you learn it, it's really enjoyable. And of course, version 1.5 brings us to the snowy area, which I'm sure will be, you know, full of beautiful vistas and lots to see and do, as is the base stuff and as is the desert stuff. So I mean, there's just stuff. There's so much stuff to do, and really even to take it in and just like be a bit of a tourist in a historical area is always one of my favorite things. So definitely check it out in the description below. Thanks a ton, and I'll see you later. Bye.